Thank you for participating in my talk on Indigenous plant knowledge, the Mompa of Bhutan. I'm Dawn Murray. As a faculty in environmental justice at Antioch University, I was involved with the Tribal Trust Foundation. We were invited to participate with the local Chumash people on a cultural preservation project to document their crossing in the Tomals from Santa Barbara to the Channel Islands. We also participated in changing Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day in Santa Barbara. And through this work, I also was able to work with the Maya in Tulum and Tuntiak Kitan of the Amazon Shuar to discuss environmental justice issues for his people. I would like to acknowledge the Chumash people and their current traditions that they continue practicing and on whose land I live and work. The model for Chumash and the Maya, we're starting with an invitation for this participatory conservation work. So the invitation had to come initially from the Indigenous people. And we looked at historical, community-based natural resource management issues, government issues, environment issues, cultural traditions, community participation. And those were all with the goal of preserving and protecting culture and the environment. I recently worked with Kayla Cranston, and she looks to foster and measure success in co-design processes via group efficacy, effective autonomy, meaningful ownership, community demand, and self-regulated understanding. So with those principles in mind, we were invited to participate in documenting Indigenous ecological knowledge of the Mompa people of Bhutan. Bhutan is a small Himalayan country between the two most populous countries, India and China. Bhutan is a Buddhist nation with about 700,000 people. They have incredibly high Himalayan peaks. This is Gangkhar Punsam, the highest unclimbed peak. For Bhutanese do not believe in climbing the tall peaks in their country because they protect their environment. And there are deities that live on these peaks that do not want to be disturbed. In addition, Bhutan has verdant valleys with green, lush trees and plants and many waterways going through the country. The government believes in gross national happiness and the ability of the people to provide food, water, and shelter for themselves. And therefore, minimum 60% of the country must be forested at all times. They do have hydropower, and they now can export that to India. The national park system of Bhutan is vast, and there are numerous national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. The one I will focus on today is right in the center, or the heart of Bhutan. There are also biological corridors where animals can move between our Jigme Sigme Wangchuck National Park and the others. And there are two that have no people living within them. But all the rest have people living within the national park boundaries. So Jigme Sigme Wangchuck National Park, they have a mission, which is to conserve and manage its natural biodiversity in harmony with the people's values and aspirations. And there are several ecological biomes ranging from subtropical to alpine meadow. Here is some cheer pine or conifer and broadleaf forests. There's also numerous endangered species, including the golden langur. But most importantly are the Mompa people who live in the Black Forest and who have been here since time began. The Mompa people believe their beginning came when one of the sun's 9 brothers met a fairy when heaven and earth were close to each other, and they mated and created the Mompa people. The Mompa people live in houses made out of straw and rocks, and they have a shaman. This shaman does spiritual work for the people and helps pacify the spirits. There are rocks with spiritual energy and significance, and for the most part, the Mompas are still they have a religion called Bonism. That means they believe in the power of the rocks, the land, the sky, the wind, the sun, and the water. But they are also Buddhist. They are a tight-knit community. There are about 350 in this community that I'm working with. And the Black Forest Range is between about 1,500 meters and 2,700 meters above sea level. So again, you see a vast diversity in the plants. A little history is that in '95, the government established the Black Forest National Park, and there was no hunting. So the Mompa did adjust their food collection. In '96, the government built a primary school that went up to 5th grade. It was a 20-minute walk from the central village, and all children needed to attend. In 2002, there was a basic health unit established, but that was a 3 to 4 hour walk from the village. So they still depended very much on the medicine men and women and on the shaman. In 2013, Karma Loti contacted the Tribal Trust Foundation. He had met with and worked with some of the Mompa who wanted help preserving their culture. So in 2014, the Tribal Trust went to the Black Forest. And for the next years, we made 1 to 2 trips per year to partner with them, strategize, and collaborate. I lived there for 6 months in 2016, and December 10th, 2019, we had our inaugural Mompa Day Festival with Antioch University students. Of course, there are numerous collaborators, but I would like to specifically thank Kazan, Jigme, and Karma for their help in this project. So as I said, we were invited to participate, and we documented the singing, the dancing, the basket weaving. Here is a woman making actually some clothing out of nettle cloth. They had lost their ability to get this plant, and she is the last weaver. So we supported their work to get more nettle and to have her train more people. So they also knew how to do a backstrap weaver loom. This woman is making ora. It's a distilled and fermented traditional alcohol. Here's a traditional hat. This man is wearing the traditional clothing. And this woman is sitting cross-legged in front of 2 very large stones that grind the husks off of seeds so that they can make bread with the powder. Here is some indigenous hunting skills and how they measure their produce and making some rice, popped rice. In their gardens, they have much radish and carrots growing, and they are cultivating the land. And the Mompa introduced local regulations not to harvest more than 10 cane shoots at once, to practice selective and rotational harvesting on their own. But they still collect edible plants from the forest. And these are extremely important for their everyday survival. There is a tree, top sing, a type of ash, that they use for wounds and inflammation and arthritis pain. The food is incredibly diverse. There's many roots, shoots, tubers that they use, and brown rice. They can make most of their household items and fencing from materials they find in the forest, including marijuana that grows naturally that they can feed to their wildlife. They have built some rice paddies here that they cultivate, and here's a close-up picture of that nettle cloth. There are some harvested forest products. There's edibles and non-edibles. So the edibles are like cane, shoot, vegetable oil, seed, and wild tubers. For the cane, there's 2 genera and 4 species, but this has become very scarce, and it can take them up to 8 to 10 hours to reach the site. Bamboo is used for mats and baskets and flooring and fences, so they need access to bamboo. In terms of medicinal plants, the Mompas have identified 34 different species of plants whose fruits, seeds, bark, leaf, root, flowers, or resin are used for medicinal purposes. When we first visited, Aptaula here is the medicinal local healer. And some elders do have some of the knowledge that he has. And until 2002, this was the only medicine that was the option for the people. But as I mentioned, now there is a health clinic. But Aptala was getting worried that his knowledge was not going to be passed on. And since we started going and visiting, he now has 2 apprentices within the Mompa community. So with our goal of resilience, we've been working on documenting cultural traditions, community, biodiversity knowledge, food and history, medicinal plants, and health. The goal here is to co-design a conservation model with the various stakeholders. First, the Mompas, the government officials, for-profits, and nonprofits. We've been working on relationship and capacity building. So we have community conversations, strategic planning, monitoring, reflecting, and then the tribal trust is specifically, I have been documenting and sharing their information. And this is all to support their way of life. The Mompa would like their way of life and their tradition to be documented. And what they asked for was this festival. And we were so happy to be able to provide success in this first festival. We are also going to go December 2022 now, and hope to bring more students and people who are interested in ecological diversity. You can see we're partnering with Young Fell Adventure Travel, the Tourism Council of Bhutan, the government in this area. We have the governor and we have a folk heritage museum involved. And the Tariana Foundation is another organization run by the Queen Mother, a nonprofit that wants to help them document their way of life. So all in all, it has been a successful adventure, but we do need to continue going and helping them with their strategic planning, monitoring, and reflecting, because when we show up, the government sees value in that for Bhutan itself, so that people in traveling to Bhutan support the Mompa people and they support their projects. So I look forward to answering any questions online if you have them. I am working right now on documenting the Indigenous plant knowledge that Aptala has been sharing with me so that he can use that to teach his future pupils. And thank you for your time.